Okay, welcome. I'm here with Tim and Rudi, who both have written a book, a quite fascinating book about AQ. And I'm going to let you explain what AQ is about living lighter and working smarter. But before diving into the book, I just wanted to know who you are. So maybe we can start with Tim. Tim Vermeire, could you a little bit describe who you are?
Yes, I'm a youngster, let's say. No, I'm about 42 years old, so I'm a marathon old. I'm well living in Zoersel. It's in the top of Belgium, next to Antwerp. I did my first education. It was physical education, and then afterwards I learned things about marketing, about business. So I went still to business schools to learn more and more elements and ingredients and variables about life, about work, about human potential. I'm quite sportive. I love running long distances. This is what I really adore. And I have a wonderful wife and five children. So yeah,
Wow, five children,
yeah, it's quite intense living.
especially in
Uh,
COVID times.
Yeah, it's a bit double because I think other people now are quite jealous about the fact that we are at home with seven of us. So we don't have the the problem of
No,
mental or social isolation. We are not that isolated. No, we're happy all together, and they're all positive. They're all healthy. So if it then five children, it's pure happiness. So no, that's briefly Tim.
thank you. And you, Rudi Francken, could you describe a little bit who you are?
Yes, of course. Hi, Murielle. I have the same background as Tim, physical education. I was in education as well for 4 years, and then I moved to business with management experience at Nike, Randstad, etc. I became independent about 20 years ago and worked with companies as a coach, as a consultant in areas of change, leadership. Wrote my first book on leadership about 7 years ago, and continue to study and learn new things. And that's where Tim and we met each other when we were both trainers at in the time Belgacom. And since then we've been friends and we've been sharing ideas. And all of a sudden we started writing a book.
Nice.
Together, Tim and myself, we have 8 kids.
Eight kids. Okay, and I have two, so we have 10 kids together.
10 kids
Ten
together.
kids together. That's
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
yes.
nice.
And
I already like that the fact that you both started as a teacher of physical education. So you did quite some pivots over your career, both of you, from teacher to the working world to the becoming a independent and becoming an entrepreneur. That's really wow, great.
it's a journey, I suppose. The same for you already. So you start with a personal mission, and when I was young, I was that let's say inspired by my own teacher, physical education. So it was the idea, logic. I will be that guy. Eh? So, but when became older and older, it was too fascinated to learn things from corporate structures, what's work really about. And then I dived as an independent as well into a journey, and that's wonderful to have a seat in which you have the opportunity to learn each day,
Yeah.
and that's lovely. It make it you have daily the idea of becoming stronger, and of course you also have we call it baaldagen, so days when you say shit. Um, so it's mentally tough, but mainly it are growing days, and that's what this journey makes that interesting, energizing. Yeah, for me.
Yeah, that goes for me as well. I was a predetermined school teacher. Huh? When you met me when I was 16, 17, I was a beast. I was doing sports all day. I had a great mentor, my physical education teacher at school, Gust Mennes, still a very good friend. He was a great mentor, so I went into his steps. but and I didn't understand that at that time. It doesn't mean that you're the right personality for that type of job. Mm-hmm. And that's also what we write about in the book, in the section on balance, is you have to fit with the job. So what I've been doing in my life is looking for the best fit and changing whenever I felt like changing. And sometimes it's an anecdote, but on a regular basis, let's say every 2 years, we meet with 5 real good friends from university, from our COT, from our student home. And most of them have a very stable career. And they still do what they started doing. And they always wonder, when we come together, they always wonder, what will Rudi be doing?
Yeah, but I love that, because I try also convincing the people that follow me and the participants of my courses that change is often a great thing, and staying relevant and constantly adapting yourself is key to happiness, and is also key to staying relevant and staying in your job and having still an impact in your job. And also following your passion. And that's more maybe for the parents among us. I believe that our children should follow their passion, and they will get where they're supposed to be. If they stay open and adaptable, it will lead them somewhere. Maybe what they studied, like you, won't be the end of their career, but today most jobs that exist today, there weren't any specialties or any education for 20 or 10 years ago.
But it's a pity, as you say now, that when I look to myself, none of my parents reflected, maybe together with me, about who I am really as a personality. It was more about, not always, but a bit judging like what is good and what is bad.
Mm-hmm. Or what is expected from society and what not.
And what was in the past, the logical, let's say, Olympic minimum. And there standardly, you have to sit at least. And so you have to be better. You get an 8, 10 or a 9. But if I look now to my children, of course, they are in quite the same system. But once I'm on a holidays in Italy, we met a guy, and he told us, like, please follow me. I think I have something exciting for you as a family. And we said, like, okay, let's go. Mm-hmm. We took off, and there we go. We went just to a small farm of horses, and so we met 2 horses, all of us separately, and we had a reflecting moment, and they call it Eki coaching. So you're coached by the horse. And so from that point, we started with our family once in a while to get them towards the horses here as well in Belgium, just to let our children know themselves, to have a good personality reflection. And now they start finding it's okay. But in the beginning, it was very weird. They were, Dad, what are you doing again? Eh? but now they start, yeah, here we go again. But now they start thinking about, oh, it's true. It's about me. And when I know myself, I can make better choices, which tease my passion, which makes me happy. And so I think it sounds logic. Maybe it sounds very fluffy and soft, but it's the way to go. It's the way to go. What you do during your career. So no, it's still a journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for that. And so you seem to both be very adaptable persons, and you decided to write a book about it. So I don't know if you can tell me a little bit more about that. Why did you decide to write this book? Yeah.
It started in a very special way. We didn't plan to write a book. I can say that, Tim. We planned to write an inspiring agenda. And the idea was to have an agenda on paper to help people to look at their priorities for the day, to take some time to follow up their health, their relaxation time with quotes, with inspiring messages, just as we gave it a name at him. It was Tuur, huh? Tuur, huh? And then all of a sudden, Tim said to me, Rudi, it should be more than just an agenda. We should have about 10, 20 pages at the beginning of that agenda with some explanation why we think movement is important, why we think that you have to keep your focus. And I said, okay, let's write the 20 pages. We wrote the 20 pages plus 980 extra. So at a certain point, we had about 1,000 pages. And I said, wow, this is it. We have to do something with it. And then we got in touch with Pelkman's publishers. And they helped us to narrow it down to the little bit less than 300 pages we have now in the book.
The core.
The core, the essential. And it was a journey. It went along. All of a sudden, we started to really interview people as well. We had Dieter Koppers, Rafal Schaarts, etc. in the book. Dixie Dansecourt, Rosanne Mertes, Mark Hermans. And also these interviews, I still remember every single interview word by word. They made an impression. We share that in the book. It's not us talking. Okay, we do give our view on it, but additionally, these people have an extra inspiration to the book.
Yeah. And so the book started, in fact, more from a desire to share your passion, because what did you see that you wanted to write that agenda about health and tips? What was it? What were you noticing in the people that made you want to help them?
It's a bit double. One side, it's about work and life. It's not easy to have the optimal combination. Where do I get my energy out of? Where do I put my energy into? The stuff. It's all about essentially energy management in combination with then focus. It's about growing as a human being. So it's a N. Call it personal leadership in times of change. It's the same. It's actually a bit as a key leader. We know that we are quite, let's say, complementary. We have a smooth overlap in that idea that you as a personal leader, you have to be strong, you have to be smart, you have to look around, you have to be, and that's one. And the other thing is that the methodology that people have to make a difference for themselves tomorrow and today, it's quite strange, but we are not designed by education. We are not designed by the world to make time and to make a qualitative personal methodology to change. And that's, for us, that's very strange that we are not that, let's say, conscious about this element. And this is why we started with the idea, let's make not a book, don't write a book. No, we don't want to tell them what to do, because that's not the idea. Try to figure out for yourself with the right methodology that you can make a difference with small things, small steps. But anyway, then maybe we felt into a pitfall. Maybe we wanted to share too much from our passion, and at the end we wrote a book. But still, at the end, the idea of the book is get yourself open, try to figure out what's in it for you. Right? So the idea, what's in it for me, and then start to design a small plan. And that will come afterwards. So we will try to help people as well with some small methodologies. Sorry for this strange word, but to help them to get a step forward and to design their action plan into reality.
Yeah, because we are now at the end of the year 2020, and people started the year 2020 with a lot of exhaustion already. People were working really, really hard. Burnouts have been very high in organizations, and then COVID hit us. So people worked even harder, had less and less means to take care of themselves and of their energy. A lot of things they like to do to relax themselves were taken away because of the crisis that we're going through. And that's what I see also, that people are now exhausted, and it's also having an impact on their health, of course, on their family, but also on organizations and on being adaptable and transforming for these digital times and these uncertain times that we live. So I guess what you're telling and taking care of yourself, that's also what I see, is that everything is always a priority, and taking care of yourself and of your own development always comes after all the rest. That's how we've been educated.
Exactly, yeah. And it's related to your last question. Why did we start this book? We felt the pain because we were working in organizations. We were talking with leaders. We were talking with high potentials. We were talking with all kind of employees. I myself, I did a lot of career coaching as well. And we felt the pain. I really had the idea of, whoa, as a human race, and that's what we write about in the book as well, we are in danger.
Mm-hmm.
And we really mean that. If we continue this way in this fight-flight modus all the time, that was not the intention of the human race. We were supposed to be we had more intelligent, more empathic, more social. And we were so busy that we moved in the wrong direction. And that's also a bell that we wanted to ring. We are in danger. And we don't say that we have the solution. That's not the idea of the book. But from our experience, we have some tips.
Mm-hmm.
And we build a structure around it. Maybe that's the biggest thing that we could do, to build a structure around it.
Yeah,
So
and maybe you
it's
can talk
accessible.
about that structure, because I know you have 5 elements that people should pay attention to. Am I correct? It's 5, huh?
Yeah, we call them 5 principles.
5 principles.
Yeah, and the first principle is about energy. So people nowadays, if you talk to them and you say it's interesting to learn new things, it's important to balance in your life and so on, they say like, yeah, it's true. I'm into the idea, but please, I'm too exhausted. As you started this question as well. So okay, how can you fill your batteries on a sustainable way? And how do you use it also more on a sustainable way? So it's a physical, mental, and emotional part. And so we talk about the brain, how it works. It's about the mitochondrion, and so it's about the human physical system in combination with biochemicals. And if you understand it better, then you know that the principle in energy management, how to get energy in and use, so out, then you can steer it more. It's the idea a bit like corporate athletes, where they started about, I think, already 40 years ago in America. So that's a bit basically that idea.
And what would be then for our listeners one tip that you would give regarding energy, if there is one thing that you would like to give them?
I suppose that nowadays, if we see people that are very exhausted, the good thing about COVID is that we are triggered to go out, to go outside, to go into the nature, and to go for a walk. Well, we can't play, let's say, soccer together. It's impossible. So doing different sports, it's not good. But what can you do? So you can go for running. Yeah, that's not maybe always that healthy if you go for a longer period for your knees and so on, your back. But walking, it's the best, let's say, therapy that you can buy. It's for free.
Yeah.
So I suppose that we have really to learn how to walk more in life. And it makes you mentally stronger because you give yourself space for reflection, space for frustration, space for ideas.
Yeah.
So it's creating space in time. That's one thing, but also mentally, it's very, very logically, let's say, energizing. So take it into account that every morning and every evening, going out for just 15 minutes. You don't have to go for 1 hour, just 15 minutes. It's a huge difference. So it's kind of like a morning and evening ritual that you implement for yourself. Is that idea?
Thank you. So energy, the first principle, and then the second one.
Shall I take over now, Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Switch, huh?
Well, the relationship with energy is that we expect supernatural output from ourselves, but we don't respect our nature, and that's a contradiction. So in that principle, we say we are natural beings and we have to take care of ourselves. We don't do that anymore. Huh? But then when your energy tank is full, what do you do with that energy? You can spread it very thin in several subjects, and at the end of the day, you find yourself wondering what you did and what was worth it.
That's a lot of leaders are there.
Are
I
feeling
often
that,
say,
yes.
yeah, I often say we live in a world of opportunities today. And people, they jump on every opportunity, and it's just not possible.
Enormous. And it's there for everybody of us. We get a mail, that mail has a link to the internet, and while we are on the internet, okay, let's check Facebook. There's another post that relates to a podcast, that the podcast brings us other ideas, and before we know it, it's like shopping in the IKEA. We want a lamp for the desk, and we are at the cashier, and we have plenty of things in our
That we don't specifically.
that we don't need. So the second principle is, we called it essentialism. And it's more than minimalism. Minimalism is a part of it, but essentialism is a wider subject, going back to what do I really want? What is my nature? What is my personality? What fits with my personality? What are my values? And then living a life more towards that essential elements and eliminating or minimizing other things. Sometimes you have to get away with stuff. Personally, 2 years ago, I moved from a large house with stuff to a 2-bedroom apartment. And okay, I could do that because the kids were out of the house and were independent. So that was an opportunity I had. But I wanted to do that. I wanted really to say, like, this picture, is this valuable for me? Yes. You might doubt that now. But is it valuable? I take it with me. Is it not valuable? I gave it away. I brought it to the recycling park, etc. So we kind of limited everything, and it's a great feeling because we have lots of time for traveling. We had a lot of time for traveling.
Yes.
But for other things that we wanted to do with our life, my wife and myself.
Yeah, and it's true. I believe that the more stuff you have and the more things you have and the more activities you do, the more stress you have.
It is, because it all needs maintenance. It all needs taking the dust away from. It keeps you busy, but does it keep you busy with the right things? I think that's the question that we ask in the second principle, essentialism.
Yeah. Yeah, and I did a podcast about minimalism as a leader, because I believe that also in leadership, and history has shown that to us, is that very successful people, they say no to almost everything. They know what they want and they say no to all the rest.
And talking about leaders, one thing I learned over the course of writing the book is that the word you mentioned, priorities, Murielle, in history, that was not a word, it was a singular word. Priorities did not exist. It was priority. That was the word.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we said, okay, let's talk about the different priorities, but that's a contradiction. And for a leader, what is his priority? And not what are the 324 priorities.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I see in organization. And I always push them, okay, but what is the one thing you're going to do now? The one thing. And it doesn't mean that you won't be able to do the other things later, but pick one for now.
And it's very ambiguous because we live in a society and in a capitalistic system in which it's always more. We need more. We need more. 5%, 2%. Tell me. And so at the end of the year, it will be more than last year. Maybe not this year. It's very disruptive moment. So it will be different for all of us. But anyway, it was the idea: growing, 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 better, better, more, more. So we are now designed by, not by nature, but we are designed by education to think about more, to think about maximizing and not about minimalizing. So for some people, it's very strange to hear this and say like, hey, what are you telling me? This is not the way I'm designed or used to. This is not my nature. But if you reflect on this principle qualitatively, then you say like, okay, no, I have to be honest with myself and figure out what is my priority, what I can minimize, what can I limit and eliminate. I know for myself that I love more and more. I'm very passionate. I'm very enthusiastic. So let's go. Yes. But then you take more on the agenda. You take more in-house. And so I learned also from Rudi, Tim, less is more.
Exactly.
Say, yeah. And I know the idea, but it wasn't easy to implement. But then when I started to also look to my garderobe and to look to very easy things at my home office, I looked around and I could say like, okay, it's true, I can eliminate things. And so if you take it really practically, it's doable. You can make a difference in eliminating things and going to the essentialist from yourself. Yeah. But the organization mainly that you're working in is not always that idea that less is more. No, more is more. So you have to be strong as a leader to not really fight against the system, but you have to think smart and try to get the power of more is more and turn it into less is more on a smart way. And that's the idea. Okay, use the power of the organization, but change it by yourself as a leader. And getting that U-turn, that's being the leader. That's taking the essential part of things in your hands and not the rest.
Yep.
So that's the idea. The third part is then if you have your energy in shape, let's say, efficiently organized, you have a kind of idea of what is essential for you, then still we are in these digital transforming and strange times. And it's full of this distraction. So how you get traction with your mind, with your thoughts. So the third principle, it's about focus. How to keep your focus where you pointed it, because you are interrupted by 1,000 emails maybe. It's about 20 messages, 30 this, 20 this, and so daily it's a struggle to keep your focus. And it's about the idea that we can focus ourselves about maximum 30 minutes on a task, which has to be interesting for you. Otherwise, it will be less. And you have to be in good shape. Otherwise, it will be less. But let's keep these things as all right, as ready. Then still, are you organized to keep your focus then for 30 minutes? And what do you do after 30 minutes? Do you keep going on or not? So you need to design a certain structure. You need recuperation moments to keep your focus. And this was then the third principle that we designed, and give people also different techniques to keep it there. So it's about recuperation. It's about the structure of the day, and it's very practical because I think nowadays, as you also talk about digital times, interruption and distraction is just part of living, and that's a pity. But then you have to be very smart again. And so if you want to live lighter and work smarter, please take the lead. That's the idea.
Yeah, and then what would be the number one tip in focusing?
For us, we have a small, let's say, one of the techniques from the 20 of them, it's the Pomodoro technique. It's quite old, but you have this tomato designed clock, wekker.
Alarm clock, yeah.
Alarm clock, that's it. So it's the tomato designed alarm clock. And there you have 25 minutes. That's the maximum that you can turn on. So you have 25 minutes for your task. And so at the end, beep, 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 beep. It's time. It's over. So you need a break. So you take a break from 2 to maximum 5 minutes. And then again, that's the next Pomodoro. And then after 3 to 4 Pomodoros, after 3 to 4 times half an hour almost, then you're there for a longer break. And we are not used to work in this system. If we see people that's one meeting, it's just next to the other one, and there's no time for yourself, no time for recuperation, not time to also reflect on what are the tasks that are combined with the and what are the action points that I still have on my agenda. Can I plan this now? Oh, no. So when do you do all this after work and administrative stuff for yourself? It's at the end of the day. It's at home. It's at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the evening.
Or in the weekends.
Or in the weekend. Yeah, so that's a pity, because then you have normally time for yourself. So we keep on going on. So we have to be smart and design a certain structure. So the Pomodoro technique, it's a very known system, but please implement it. Do so. It's quite logic. It's up to you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So energy, essentialism, and then focus. And what's the fourth principle?
The fourth principle is balance. What I like about focus is the terminology we describe it in the book, from distraction to traction. You want to do something with your life, and if you are distracted all the time, it won't happen. Mm-hmm. Now, balance, you can be very motivated, you can be high energy, you have your essential elements really clear, you're focused on these essential elements, but still you can neglect your family or neglect your friends. There are a couple of examples in business. People who really did great things for society, developed great tools, but that was their only focus. And the tools were great, but as a father, there is another legacy. So in our feeling, you have to keep this in balance as well. So balance between your work and your other roles is what we talk about, but also balance at your work. And balance at your work to us means a fit between your personality, we call it your temperaments, and your job. If that's a fit, that gives you energy. If that's a non-fit, you lose a lot of energy and feeling that you're worthwhile. And that's what we give tips about as well, to really think about your personality and to make sure if your job doesn't give you energy, move on or change your job. You can discuss, like, I lose energy here, is there a colleague, etc. We talk about job crafting as a technique. That's important to start the discussion and to really build your job the way that fits with your own personality.
Yeah, I agree.
And balance, sorry to interrupt you, but normally the idea of balance at work is also that should be designed out of the system. So the system, the organism as working in a group, in an organization, can be that well designed, so you get energy out of it, and so you be motivated out of it. It's an autonomic system. But we see that more and more tasks are repetitive. They are not really making you hot daily. It's really getting energy out of your body, out of your mind. So we know that the organization could be very responsible for this element, but don't wait for your organization to do the change. Be smart again and design your own work. Design also the relevant elements for the rest in your life. And if you do so, it will bring you more into a balanced situation.
Yeah. Okay, nice.
You're still looking for a tip?
Yes, of course. I'm still looking for a tip for our listeners.
Well, I think one tip is to find yourself a really good hobby. That nobody is asking you to do something. You do it for yourself. You find pleasure yourself. You meet people, whatever hobby fits It can be a hobby alone. It can all be a hobby more social. But find yourself a hobby so that when you get out of the bed, you don't ask yourself, you ask yourself questions about the job, but you also ask yourself the question about your hobby. I personally started with minimalistic ceramics, and basically every day I look forward to see what the situation is, if I can continue building, etc. So it's like a child. I feel very, very young when I'm at my hobby. And it's a real good balance between work and other activities. So find yourself a good hobby. I think that's a great tip.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So, energy, essentialism, focus, balance, and then what's the last principle?
Yeah, the last principle is growth mindset. So I suppose we all want to learn, we all want to grow as a human being, but we mainly don't have the time for this. And so this is why the principles that we talked about are that basic. It's a need. We need to design it and fit all these principles into our life, so we have more room in the mind and room in the agenda to develop really the growth mindset and to learn things again, to be future proof. Because nowadays we all know that all types of businesses are in a disruptive situation. They need to figure out what's new, what's better, and it's about robotica, it's about AI, it's about new technologies. But are you ready as a person to fit in that new organism that will look for different skills and competences? Are you ready to think about it already? And so then you need a growth mindset. You need to learn daily. And that growth mindset always starts, of course, with a beginner mindset. It always has to do as well about resilience, because we are faced already with life events. So I'm not talking only about digital transformations or structural transformations in organizations. I'm also talking about life events. So you get quite a lot of bumps on the road in your life. So you have to be ready to absorb these things. This is what we call then not absorption, but resilience. And next step is then, okay, and make time for yourself to learn, to be ready for the future. So that's about the growth mindset. And if you can combine the growth mindset then with the other principles, you are adaptive. You are in the core adaptive for yourself, for the situation, for the reality, but also for the future. You have to be smart enough, like judoka. You have to anticipate to what's coming up in life these days. Don't wait too long. If you're always like a situational leader, like situational leadership, then I say, okay, that's maybe logic, because you have to be in the here and the now, and you have to be problem solving. But that's still a bit command control. No, you have to think forward. You have to be smart. You have to be so in a different position, and that's a growth mindset. That's the idea. To become more adaptive, we need to be there.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that is what I find so difficult, is that our educational system is based on a fixed mindset. It forces us, or it shapes us to have a fixed mindset where you cannot make any mistakes and you have to control everything, and only the results count and not the joy of the journey and the process. I don't know if you agree with that as well.
Exactly. I remember a song from Comme il faut, and it's Ruimtevader, astronaut, most of us know. And in that song, he said, the person is saying to his teacher, it's not because you called me an asshole that I moved to space, but sometimes it is. And I see young, we are born with an open mindset. We have a lot of potential and we try everything out. That's who we are as a human being. But then our system molds us into a fixed mindset, and we still have to ontwikkelen. We still have to develop again as adults. And It's the difference between saying that's who I am or that's who I am now.
Exactly.
And you can learn and identify and realizing that you can learn everything. We have a brain that is capable of changing itself with neuroplasticity. And if you start juggling in the beginning, it's difficult. But if you continue, these neurons will build their network and up all of a sudden you have 20 balls in the air, as a matter of speaking. And to realize that, I think, is key, that you can change yourself and you can learn new things.
And to realize that not only mentally, because a lot of people, they know a lot of things rationally, but you have to integrate it somatically. You have to experience it and to live it. And that's when you truly believe it.
Absolutely, yes.
We are not used to pruts. I was just looking for the right word in English. It's about being a bungler.
Yeah.
Being a prutser, a bungler, it means, yeah, you can make mistakes, and that's really okay. That's really okay. And talk to yourself like making mistakes, that's really okay. It could be really funny. I did it today for the second time. Stupid bungler. No, in our minds, we are designed to say, what? The second time, the same fault? You are stupid.
Yeah.
How can you be a leader? By making mistakes? That's impossible. No, a good leader has a certain degree of vulnerability and can say to himself, yeah, it's right, I was wrong.
Or to his
people. I did something stupid. I made a mistake, and that's okay. Let's figure out, of course, to make a difference, to do it better. That's the growth mindset. But it starts with the idea to let it into you, like, okay, the starting point is that we are all human beings and we are not a robot.
By realizing that for yourself, you can be a compassionate leader towards others as well.
Exactly.
If you're fixed mindset, you have a fixed attitude toward others, and they have to be perfect as well because you are perfect, between brackets, and that's not compassionate. That gets more into an autoritaire way of being a leader. Huh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Well, really nice. And it's called AQ, but we didn't say what it meant, AQ. So maybe you can talk about that also. What does it mean, AQ?
The idea came out of the logic, other two ingredients that we already know. So it's about IQ. We all have a certain expertise, and we are used to have some insights from our personal mental intelligence, which we call IQ. Okay, that's one. Secondly, then we said, okay, to be really good aligned towards others, to listen well to others' needs, like clients, customers, and even though colleagues as well, as a leader. Hopefully, then we need an EQ. So in that part, okay, what is it to be emotionally intelligent? And then we say today, that's not enough. If you have a good IQ and EQ, it's a very good starting point, and it's highly important, of course. But there is a third, let's say, competence or attitude ingredient or quotient, which we call then the adaptive intelligence. So you have to be adaptive towards the challenges that you have personally, at work, and more largely in life. And if you are ready to guide yourself towards the next step, so it's really the idea of step by step towards a higher degree of adaptiveness, then it means that you are stable and you are flexible. Exactly. So it's not about being agile to become more agile and shout, yes, I'm an agile leader. Oh, it could be very good to be an agile leader, but it's not the meaning of, okay, being flexible every minute. No, it's about being stable when it needs to be stable, and it's flexible when there is a need to be flexible, and find the right way how to
navigate,
to guide, to navigate between those two. Yeah, that's the idea. That's about adaptive intelligence. That's the core, let's say, and it brings you, let's say, the idea of living lighter, working smarter. And so it's about happiness, resilience, deep satisfaction you get out of it, life quality. So I think the core things in life, and happiness for sure. Yeah.
Sure, satisfaction. Yeah.
Great.
In the book we spoke about the tripod. I mean a chair with 3 legs, and one is IQ. You need it. The second is EQ. Important, very important. But the third one is AQ. You need to have this adaptive intelligence. And when I'm in a workshop, I always sit down on this chair with the 3 legs, and I move a little bit behind to show that you can sit on 2 legs. But that requires a lot of energy and muscle power. And if somebody throws something at you from the audience,
You'll fall.
You might lose your balance. So when you develop this third leg, this third quotient, the AQ quotient, then you're stable. And then you're able to catch a lot. What's happening changes, things unexpected, but you're still quite stable. I think that's a good analogy to underline that we believe that the world is changing too fast now to go forward without a developed adaptive quotient, adaptive intelligence. The good news is that you can learn it. It's not our nature, I think. We belong to the comfort zone, all of us, but we need to step out of the comfort zone every now and then, and to move that comfort zone.
Okay, great. It was really interesting. And maybe a little bit more, when will the book be published? At first it will only be published in Flemish, but it will be published later in English. But when will it be released?
It will be released in the first week of January, so in the week of the 4th of January. And then the English version, we are figuring out together with the publisher when we will arrange it. So let's wait a bit. We are very, of course, enthusiastic and ready for the English version, but we will come back then. When it's there, then we, I hope, Murielle, that you can send towards your audience that we are there.
Yeah, and where can people find you now?
Easily at the www, so it's the website of Adaptive Intelligence, but then in Dutch. Adaptieveintelligentie.be. So until now, we start with really a Dutch version. And then step by step, we will jump into the English part and maybe as well into the French, because we are in Belgium. Yeah, very linguistic. So this is the idea.
Well, and we didn't want to do everything at once. We wanted to stay in balance as well.
Yeah, exactly. And go to the essential part, which was first your own language. Great.
Focus. Yeah.
Great. But it was great having you in this podcast. Thank you for that. And good luck with your book. I hope you will sell a lot of them.
Thank you. Really thank you for the time, the attention, and we keep in contact.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Have a great day.